Good evening, everyone. It is time for today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm Attorney Stephen Leahy. It is Monday, September 27th, year of our Lord, 2021. And we're still objecting to the IRS violating our Fourth Amendment rights. And I hope you'll join me. So let's start the show. So I know I've been talking a lot about this IRS bank statement issue. It's ever changing every day, so that's why it keeps making my list to talk about. So my mantra today is let's just stop the IRS spying. They're running into a lot of roadblocks on this issue, even from their own party. I want to talk about the Biden administration and the Democrat Congress in the House. As I mentioned, the Secretary of the Treasury has been pushing for this. The IRS has been pushing for it to allow. So just let's review exactly what they're looking for. They want to get access to Americans' bank accounts, each and every American every year. Now, the initial proposal was to go to $600 or more. So if you had $600 or more in transactions or balance, then the IRS would be required that you had to turn over that information. Well, last week the committee took that provision out of the bill that's pending, and after some going back and forth, I think they put it back in. I reported this on Thursday night because it was Thursday night that they put it back in, but they didn't tell us how much. They said, well, we're going to raise it from $600. At that time, I was like, what are they going to do? $1,000, double it, $1,200. 10 times is $6,000. I think they're settling on $10,000. I don't know that for a fact. I haven't seen anything official that said, yes, we're going to push for $10,000. And the reasoning goes, well, you already have to report cash payments. The banks have to report all cash payments over $10,000. But here's the difference. Cash payments, and we all have to. If anybody gives you $10,000 in cash, you're required to report it. But that's cash. That's not transactions. And if you think about it, $10,000 in transactions in any one bank account, that's still nearly everyone in America. I mean, it's not even the bank accounts, it's credit unions, it's stock brokers' accounts, it's any kind of account. If you're getting assistance, they put it into an account in your name. That's more than $600. That's more than $10,000 a year, generally. Okay, so that means almost everyone is still. It doesn't insulate anybody. And actually, my objection is not about the amount, right? It's not about, well, they're going after everybody. It's they're going after anybody because they don't. I don't believe they have the authority to do so. So we got some good stories about it this way. But I always want to, I want to reiterate where I base my objection. Right, I'm basing my objection on the Fourth Amendment of the United States of America, right? And so let's start there. Let's start with the with what that is, what the Fourth Amendment is. I don't want to turn into a constitutional class, but I think it's important that we all review exactly what the rules are, and the rules are the Bill of Rights, okay, and the Fourth Amendment. There are some conflicting. We could talk about the conflicting. There it goes. The conflicting. There's some conflicting court rules, United States Supreme Court decisions on this, and I'll review them briefly. But first, I want to talk about the the Fourth Amendment. So let's start. Let us start by reading the Fourth Amendment. It's a good way to begin, don't you think? That we could begin by reading the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So probable cause. They have to be, and my persons and my papers, right? So some of the court cases that I just referred to, they say, well, those aren't your papers, right? They're with the bank. They're the bank's papers. Of course, we can go back and remember that historically, any bank papers you had, any of these financial records, you had to keep yourself. But now we have to keep them with the bank. It's required by many laws, many regulations that the bank has to keep these records that we have to do our transactions through. You can't really go around with cash, as I mentioned. If you have more than $10,000 in cash, it's presumed illegal, right? So that you're supposed to report this stuff. So you need some sort of institution in order to keep funds to transact your business, and they shouldn't be able to go around that and say, well, now that means that we can get all of your records, and they're not protected any longer. So I still think that they're protected, but so there's a couple of big stories. Let's start with these stories then. This first one is Democrats to raise the cap on Biden's transaction data proposal, and this is what I was mentioning. It was at $600, and I don't think this article that mentions the $10,000, but I don't think they confirm exactly what the new number is. Democrats plan to revise President Joe Biden's proposal that all bank transactions of more than $600 be reported to the IRS as banks and privacy advocates come out against the plan. The initial proposal was for banks to report all account inflows and outflows of over $600 to the IRS, I think that means, in an effort to crack down on tax cheats and raise revenue. But for Democrats' multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure social spending package. Now House Ways and Means chairman says Democrats have agreed to raise that threshold. We have reached an agreement to not have the $600, he said. And this is where the Bloomberg, that's the report that they just reported on Bloomberg. That's the article that I posted on Thursday night was from Bloomberg. While Democrats are still working to work out the details, so they know, well, we're going to go up for $600. Well, what are you going to go to? I don't know what it's going to be. They are reportedly targeting $10,000 threshold. Again, think about your own. Do you have more than $10,000 in your bank account in a year? Do you do more than $10,000 in transactions in your bank account a year? The answer is obviously yes. Yes, of course. That is similar to the amount the federal government already monitors through the Treasury Department. But that's cash that they monitor, not transactions. Here's what the House Democrats multi-trillion, it's hard for me to keep saying trillion, infrastructure and social spending package. Banks are currently mandated to file currency transaction reports on all deposits of $10,000 to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, a division of the Treasury. But see, they're not telling you that. Cash transactions, not all transactions, cash transactions, prevents money laundering and crime, but doesn't monitor the reports for tax purposes. It's cash payments. However, banks and credit unions fear the Biden proposal to report all transactions over $600 to the IRS would be overwhelmingly burdensome, taking up crucial time and money. So they're leaving out that crucial part, right? It's not any 10,000 transaction that they have to report. It's $10,000 in cash transactions. That's a much smaller subset of transactions than all transactions of $10,000 or more. From a bank perspective, the administrative challenges and complexities of having a $600 annual threshold may not achieve the policy goals of reducing tax avoidance. At $600, the squeeze may not be worth the juice. I've never heard that before. that analogy. The squeeze may not be worth the juice. There are also privacy concerns. I think primarily privacy concerns, particularly given that the threshold as low as the proposed $600 would target nearly everybody. But again, a target of $10,000 would still target nearly everyone. For more than 140 Republican lawmakers sent letters to the commission, the IRS, and the House, all of that, pushing back on that notion. Not only would such an overly comprehensive U.S. IRS database require significant resources to build, maintain, and protect. They've already demonstrated they cannot protect it. They cannot protect the documents that they already have. But it would make the personal financial data of millions of Americans vulnerable to attack. Of course it would. As we said, with the millionaires and billionaires their tax returns were given over to people that just recently. So anyway, so that would go through this. Then there's another story here on Yahoo News. This just came out that IRS would track all bank transactions over $600 under the Biden plan, and businesses revolt, as they should. Opinion: financial institutions should not be IRS agents. I believe this is from Senator Mike Crapo from Idaho. And he goes through this, that now it's going to really cause friction between the your financial institution and their customers. IRS needs customer service revamp, not expanded authority. This is something that I fully adhere to, that they need to work more on. Did you know that the IRS often only answers 40%? Only 40% of all telephone calls are answered by the IRS. Did you know that? Recently, it's been much lower than that because of the problems that they've had with processing these refunds, processing the child tax credits, processing the unemployment refunds, processing the stimulus checks. All of this has made the IRS very unresponsive, and they don't answer the telephone. And if you tried to call them, you can't get through. And they're doing more and more online, and they're pushing it online. And that makes sense, but that means they need a lot less people, and then they don't need the budget that they tell us that they need. My own opinion. Now, there's some, the weaponization of the IRS, a sordid history, and the need for taxpayer protections. So, and it is absolutely true that there's a need. And I'm going to go back to the Fourth Amendment because I think that's really the crux of the issue, that the Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures. And I think the IRS, a government organization, the most powerful government organizations outside of our federal courts, I always say that the federal courts are our only protection against the IRS. And I think they've balked on this too, because again, I believe that the Fourth Amendment covers this or should cover this. And we already have the Financial Privacy Act that's in effect today. As we sit here today, there's a federal law called the Federal Privacy Act that prohibits this activity. And so we should support that furtherance of the IRS, of the Financial Protection Act. And we should all object strenuously, protesting that the IRS is going to go after our bank accounts. We should object. We should support those that are objecting to it. And we should continue to let our representatives know that this is not something that we need. What free people would allow an IRS to begin with, but then the IRS to go after everything? The old adage, well, if you've got nothing to hide, what are you afraid of? And we could turn that around. And again, the police aren't allowed to go through your home whenever they feel like, even if they think there might be a crime without probable cause. If we allowed them to do that, would crime go down? Probably. Would it be worth that cost? The answer is absolutely not. It's not worth the cost. It's not worth the surrender of our privacy to make crime go down a little bit. And here, it's not worth the surrender of our privacy to gain more money for the IRS or for the Congress to spend willy-nilly. And that's just where we are. So I hope you support us in objecting to this provision. It was taken out last week, and now they put it back in. And so my own opinion is this whole debacle should not be approved, and we should object to all of it. And now we have the continuing resolution to raise the debt ceiling, which I think we should also object to. And I hope you support us on that. But that's for another day, and we'll talk about that another day. But so I help people fight the IRS, and if you're fighting the IRS, then you should get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com. Again, freeirsbook.com. Get a copy of my book. Can't hurt. Don't cost nothing. And again, there might be a lot of great information for you in there that would help you. And so, if you find any of this interesting or helpful, then I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like it here on Facebook. Share it with your friends or those that you know that might need it. And if anything I can do to help you, I certainly will. So you can call us at 312-664-6649. Again, it's 312-664-6649. Again, let's object to the turning over all of our banking information to the IRS. Let's stop IRS spying. We should not enable this. Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you.